welcome back to my homestead. Today I am with my husband visiting our friends Mike and Anna, and they have that beautiful outdoor pizza oven that I'm completely in love with. Well, I do love my friends, but I also love their pizza oven. So they graciously have invited us to make tomato pie in their outdoor oven. And I have my homegrown Sarmanzano's tomatoes that are going to be perfect for this recipe. Because here's the thing, a lot of tomatoes have a lot of juice because it's a very juicy kind of fruit, vegetable, whatever you want to call it. So that's why I like to use my plum Sarmanzanos, I can't ever pronounce them right, because they are more meaty and less juice, because you don't want to have a runny, soggy pie, right? So let's start making my pie. And you probably have seen my other pies that I make, my savory pies, and one of them is cabbage pie that I made a while ago, and that was a yeast dough. This one is going to be using baking powder. So I'm going to start by measuring out for one pie, but I'm making two pies today because it's a crowd and I feel like we need more than just one pie. So here's my recipe. Okay, so I'm going to need, for one recipe, for one pie, I need I'm going to start with the dough, and I have a cup and a half of flour. But you know what, since I'm making two pies, I'm going to put 3 cups. I should have used just 1 cup, but whatever. So anyway, so a cup and a half of flour, because we're going to start making a dough, and this dough has to rest for about half an hour. So while I'm making the filling, the dough is going to rest. Okay, then I'm going to mix into my dry ingredients. I'm going to mix a teaspoon of baking powder, not baking soda, baking powder. So since it's 2 recipes here, I'm going to throw in 2 of them. I think my baking powder is getting old because it's a little clumpy. Okay, then I'm going to throw in some salt, and I have this beautiful pink Himalayan salt, and I need a half a teaspoon of pink Himalayan salt, so I'm just doubling that up. All right, I'm gonna mix everything, and could I borrow a whisk, please? I need a whisk. Yeah, I need a whisk. So I'm gonna mix everything together, and then I'm gonna add my wet ingredients, okay? And for wet ingredients, I will need some oil, and I have olive oil. Thank you, Anna. Oh, look how beautiful this looks, so antique. I love coming to your kitchen. It's so gorgeous. Isn't this beautiful here? All right, so I'm going to be measuring out 1/4 cup of oil. Okay. The boys are here. I'm making dough, so you gotta wait, guys, okay? Okay, so I have 1/4 cup of oil, and I need half a cup of yogurt. Actually, I'm doubling up, already forgot about it. So 2 of these. Okay. I think Skippy wants to come in as well. Call Skippy in. That's the dog. All right, and then I'm going to be putting in half a cup of for each. Okay. All right. So here we go. Now I'm just going to mix everything together. I'm going to make this dough. I think at some point the whisk is going to be too much, and I'm going to ask for a wooden spoon to mix this dough together. Now this can be made by hand, just like this, or you can use a standing mixer, like a KitchenAid, that sort of thing. And if I was at home, I probably would use my KitchenAid, but here I'm just going to be using, I need a big spoon. So, yeah. You boys are something. Thank you. Wow, that's a lot of spoons. Thank you so much. All right, so I'm just going to mix this together, and it's going to become a very soft dough. The yogurt is going to help it to rise, and so will the baking powder. It's going to be very soft dough. Okay, I'm not putting a lot of salt into this because when I think about all the ingredients that are going to go into the filling, it's going to be actually quite salty. All the cheeses and the other ingredients. Wait until you see it. Okay, so this is almost came together. I'm just waiting for the dough to kind of form a uniform ball just like this, almost put together, almost done. My hands are clean. So I'm just gonna mix it together. It's super soft. Wow, super nice dough. And it's always nice to let it rest for a little bit because the gluten is going to develop, okay, and it's going to be a tastier dough. All right, so this is going to be our crust. And remember, I'm making 2 of these. Okay, let it rest. So I'm going to put this dough aside and let this guy relax. I probably going to cover that so it doesn't dry up. Okay, so while that is going to be resting, I will cover that in a minute. I need to start working on the filling, and the filling is going to be quite simple, only a very few simple ingredients. I'm going to wash my hands. Okay, while the dough is resting and the boys went outside so they're not making any noise for me, I'm going to start making the filling. So I'm going to read the ingredients that you need, that I'm going to need for 1 pie filling. Okay, I'm going to need 1 large onion, and I already peeled it, and I'm going to chop it. And it can be chopped into little squares, into little whatever, it doesn't matter, shred it into whatever, it doesn't really matter. 1 onion, 1 teaspoon of sugar, some salt to taste, some pepper to taste. Now spices or herbs. Now if this is done when you don't have any fresh herbs, just Italian dry seasonings will work great. But in my case, why not if I have some fresh? So I got some fresh basil here, and I have some fresh thyme and rosemary. So I'm going to be chopping that as well. How much or how little really to taste, but if you're going to be measuring, I want to say at least a tablespoonful of dry herbs, or maybe even more, because you want it to feel present in the pie. Okay, then we're going to need 1 cup of mayo, and I have a regular store-bought mayo, but when I have time I make my own homemade mayonnaise, and it's so good. It doesn't taste like the commercially prepared one, but it's so good. Not today. Today I'm just going to be using the store-bought one. 1 cup of mayo, 1 cup of shredded mozzarella cheese, and 1 cup of shredded cheddar cheese. And as far as the cheeses, you guys can change it to anything you want. It doesn't have to be just mozzarella and cheddar. I made it one time using Gruyere. Was it Gruyere, Anna, last time we made it? Yeah, it was Gruyere, and it was so good. Gruyere cheese melts so nicely, and it has that nice bite to it. And then the star of the show, tomatoes. Now, how many tomatoes? It's hard to tell, because if you're using the big sandwich tomato, like a big boy or something, then you need 4 or 5 large tomatoes. But my plum tomatoes are much smaller, so I'm going to need a whole lot more. And then of course I'm going to be looking at my baking dish, and I am using this beautiful, very well seasoned, thank you Anna, very well seasoned clay. This is clay, right? It is. Clay baking dishes we're going to be using. So I'm going to see how many I need. So once I lay the dough as a crust and I start putting in my ingredients, I'm going to see how many tomatoes I need. So I have a whole pile here, and we'll see how much we end up using. In the meanwhile, I'm going to start chopping my onion, and I just turned on the skillet. It's a cast iron skillet, and it takes a little while to... This is a good knife, Anna. I like it. It cuts well. I love it. So I'm just chopping it in a small little pieces, because I like it to be in small pieces, because I don't like onion to be very present in this dish. You want to get the taste of it, but you don't want it to bite into a big piece of it. And that's one of the reasons why I'm sort of chopping it in a more reasonable pieces, okay? But you guys can do it any way you want to, really. It's your choice, it's your pie. The skillet is nice and hot, and I'm just going to be putting a little bit of oil in it, okay, just to help along the onion. And I'm going to start sauteing the onion until everything is golden and translucent. Okay, so the onion is slowly sauteing, getting all comfortable and all married, and I'm gonna start chopping up the tomatoes just to get that ready and going. And if it's a very juicy tomato, this is a good time for it to allow to kind of like lose extra moisture. So I'm just gonna cut them up into little circles. And if you choose to remove skin, you can, but I'm not going to. I'm just gonna leave these little pieces for the chickens to enjoy. And I'm just gonna make a little pile of this tomato. I have some salt, and once I cut up all my tomatoes, I'm going to sprinkle a little salt on them. That will help to withdraw any unnecessary liquid from the tomato. Okay, I'm gonna return all of my cut up tomatoes into a large bowl, and I'm just gonna sprinkle a little bit of salt on them. Because how much? I don't know, just a little bit, just like a couple of pinches, a little pinches, because that's gonna help. What's the matter, Skippy? He wants to go outside with the boys. Just a little, you know, sprinkle, because that's gonna help to remove any unnecessary liquid that we don't need. And I gotta go check on the onion. I think it's coming to a point where I need to season it. All right. I'm gonna just mix them all together. Okay, let them sit and strain any unnecessary liquid. Okay, it's becoming more and more translucent and golden. It has reduced in color. It's already on low, right? Okay. So I'm just going to season it now. Again, not too much, because remember the cheese will be salty. So I'm just seasoning it a little bit, because each layer has to be seasoned. A little salt, a little pepper, okay? And again, this should be to taste, really, because I always was taught that you can always add, but you cannot remove. So, and now I'm going to be adding a little bit of sugar. So I'm just going to put a couple of teaspoons of sugar in here. Let this all come together. And then I'm going to turn off the heat and let it cool. Okay, so I'm gonna start by mixing the filling, and for a filling we need onion that's cooling off, the tomatoes that are sitting in a little bit of salt and kind of draining extra. But I'm gonna be mixing the rest of the ingredients, and I have the coolest little spoon here. It's a wooden spoon. Anna, you have the coolest things in your kitchen. Don't laugh, I'm serious. You have the coolest. All right, so for each pie, I'm going to need 1 cup of mayo, and since I'm making 2, I have 2 cups of mayo. And I'm gonna need 1 cup of shredded mozzarella, that's what I have here, and 1 cup, and since it's 2 pies I'm making, I'm just gonna dump it in here. I already pre-measured them. And 2 cups of shredded cheddar cheese, okay? It can be yellow cheddar cheese if you prefer, but I have white one. And I'm just gonna mix it all together. Mix it all together, okay? And at this time, I'm gonna be adding my herbs. And if I didn't have any fresh herbs, I probably would just put a little bit of Italian dry seasoning, because that would work just fine. But like I said, when you have fresh, why not? All right, so everything is mixed. All right, let's just start adding our herbs. And I have here a little pile. I have a little pile of everything. I don't know if you guys can see it here. All right, so I have some fresh thyme that I have, and I'm gonna just take it off the stems just like that. Okay, because the stems are kind of woody, but I want the fresh leaves. And again, how much, it's really up to you. It's really to taste. The beauty of home cooking, that it's everything to taste. And I know some people really follow the recipe when they say, well, how many teaspoons of this, how many teaspoons of that? Some things you have to measure when you bake, but when you cook, it's really to taste, right, Anna?
That's true, very true.
That's true. All right. My mama never measured. Even baking, it was always like a handful, handful, you know. Growing up, we did not have measurement cups. We used a glass, and it was a standard glass that everyone knew. And when we first came to this country and we tried to bake here, all of our recipes would say, use 1 glass of sugar. We would be like, what's a glass? What is it equivalent to? We have no idea. All right, so that's thyme. That should be enough, I think. Now rosemary, I think I'm gonna chop that up a little bit, and some fresh basil. Oh, is that how you do it?
Yeah.
You're so fancy, Anna. Right. So I'm gonna, oh, I see what it does. Okay.
Isn't that neat?
That is so neat. Do you see this little trick? It just cuts like in 4s or 6s right away. Oh my goodness, that's so cool. And it doesn't get stuck? Oh, you just have to shake it. Okay.
Tap, tap.
Just a tap, tap, tap without breaking the glass bowl. Okay. All right, that's pretty awesome trick. Look, it saves so much time, yeah. I don't want to cut myself here. All right, and then same thing with fresh rosemary. Again, you can put as little as you want to or as much as you want to. It's really up to you. All right, I have to go check on the, shake this all off. I have to go check on my onion and see if it's cooled off enough. All right. Okay, let's set this aside for a while. Let's check on the tomatoes. And it's funny, there's juice on the bottom, so I'm just gonna go strain it in the sink really quick. I'm not gonna rinse it, I'm just gonna strain it, and that's all. So the onion has cooled off, and I'm just gonna add it to the mix. Okay. I'm gonna add it to the mix. It's all there. And now it's time to roll out or create the crust. Okay, so sometimes it's easier just to use fingers and kind of like push it aside on the baking dish. I'm just gonna put this aside for now. Let's take a look at our dough. All right, so I'm gonna cut it in half because we have 2 pies here. Okay, I'm gonna let this guy sit and rest for a little bit.
Would you like some flour?
I have it. All right, and let's see if we can roll this out. Sometimes this dough can be a little tricky and it doesn't want to roll out as well. And sometimes I end up just using my hands, kind of like spread it around. But thank you, Miss Hannah. Wow, it's heavy. Marble rolling pin. Wow, it can be a weapon. That's beautiful. All righty. Now, how thick to make it? I'm gonna make it pretty thick because I like crust on the savory pies to be a little thick, okay? You can guys make it thin, especially if you have a larger dish, but I like it a little thick, and also I like it a little thick because we're gonna be baking it in the outside wood oven, and I feel like if I made it too thin, it just would burn too much.
Rolling on this.
All right, so I'm rolling this out. If you see a little speck, that's a little rosemary got stuck to it. It's okay, it will be seasoned dough. All right, let's get one of these plates. I'm gonna be using this guy, this baking dish. All right. And this is a very rustic pie, very, very rustic pie, okay? And again, you can make it deeper if you want to. Just keep in mind that a deeper pie will bake longer, okay? But who has the patience? And now you can twirl or pinch, whatever you want to do with the edges, whatever you like to do. It really does not matter. Sometimes I'm creative, sometimes I'm lazy. It's really up to you how you want to make this. And a little flour here. All right, and just keep turning, making this crust. Very rustic pie, but very filling pie, and it can be served as dinner. It can be served as brunch, as baby shower, bridal shower, one of those things. But for us, it's just dinner. It's just dinner. You make a salad on the side with fresh garden vegetables, and you got yourself dinner. All right. Okay, so I'm gonna be putting down some of this beautiful filling that I have. Okay, I'm gonna spread that out on the bottom, everywhere. Again, because it's kind of shallow plate, I'm afraid to put too much, but it will be fine. Okay, you fill this all up. Look at it. I know it looks kind of plain right now, but wait until we add the beautiful, colorful. All right, fill up all the spots. All right, put this aside. And here are my tomatoes. And now you can layer them any way you want to. In a shape, in a pattern, in words. You can say, I love Mike and Anna. You can say anything you want.
That'd be nice.
That would be nice, but I'm not that creative, Anna.
But you are.
You can say, I love Skippy. Skippy loves me. All right.
That's a beautiful pie.
So, thank you. All right, so I'm just layering all there. And honestly, I'm not putting any, how do you call it, the cheese on top, because I'm just gonna let this kind of bake together. One more. One is done. Michael, is your oven ready? I'm just gonna put this guy aside. Look how beautiful. All right, I'm gonna put this guy aside, and I'm gonna work on the next one.
So right now I'm just privileged to even touch these pies. They're a thing of beauty. Look at that. Absolutely gorgeous. So we're gonna insert them into the oven, take a temperature reading, which should be right around there. It's about 390, 380. So they'll sit right there. I'll just push it in with this hook. And we'll just watch it for a little bit.
All right, awesome. Normally I bake them in the oven, but today they get a special treat. Good boy, Skippy. Good boy, Skippy. Yeah. You're such a good boy, Skippy. Oh, wow. They're beautiful. Look at that. Look at that. I think they're perfectly baked. So, what temperature do you think they were baking at?
350.
350, yeah.
400.
So if to bake them in a regular conventional oven, I would bake them at 375 for about 45 minutes, and then always cool them off and let them set a little bit, because you don't want this to be very runny. It needs to set for a little bit. So I'm just gonna let them relax, and we're just gonna sit here, enjoy the sounds of country bugs and birds and whatever else, frogs, and we're gonna eat this. So anyway, friends, I hope you are encouraged to cook with your fresh tomatoes. This is a tomato season, and a lot of people say, I don't know what to do with them. Well, here you go. You can make this beautiful tomato pie. Look at that. Yum.